All right, our guest tonight on Toyota Sports Talk, always fantastic to have former Washington head coach Jay Gruden, does a great job for Underdog Fantasy as well. Jay, how are you?
I'm doing good. Beautiful Florida. Played
Yeah.
golf yesterday. Gotta love it.
How's the golf game? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. They got an
Okay.
Epson tour event down here this week, so I got to take a week off. I'm not happy about that, but I'll follow around the ladies, see how they do.
There you go. All right, love that. And obviously the Commanders making some news. Deebo Samuel coming to Washington. What do you make of that, Jay?
I love it. I really do. I think Deebo Samuel still has a lot of gas in his tank. He's a big physical kid. I think he fits the mold of what the Dan Quinn and Adam Peters wants in their football team, and that's physicality, toughness. I know he's been hurt. I know he's put on a few pounds here and there, but I still think he doesn't have to be the number one guy now. He doesn't have to catch 100 balls. He just needs to catch his 60 balls, 50 balls, have a couple jet sweeps a game. He can run the ball out of the backfield. Most importantly, he's a very good blocker on the perimeter. And the way Cliff Kingsbury runs these bubble screens and quick screens and tight end screens, to have a blocker that can block safeties and corners and linebackers is very beneficial, makes easy plays, big plays for Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I'm excited because you have a Swiss Army knife type player in a Debo. You can line them up everywhere. Same with like an Austin Eckler. I mean, you get those two guys in the field at the same time. I mean, there's going to be some dynamic play calls here.
Yeah, I agree. Austin does a good job out of the backfield as well, but I just like his toughness and his physicality. I think that's what he's trying to bring to this football team, the culture that you're trying to establish. I can never quite get everybody like that on my teams, but I think Dan Quinn's doing that. Add Marshawn Lattimore. We know he's a great competitor. They had Deebo Samuel. He's a great competitor. Now they have some issues on the field sometimes. Deebo yelling at kickers and
Mhm.
Marshawn getting a few personal fouls, but they just gotta try to rein that in a little bit. But you love the fiery competitors that those type of guys are.
How can a new environment, like a new locker room, help like a Debo Samuel?
I don't know. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I think the contract situation's got to play itself out somehow, keep him happy. I think he's making $17.5 million a year or whatever. I don't know if they have another multi-year contract in place already. I don't know. Money has a lot to do with making him happy. To change of scenery will help. I think playing with a guy like Jayden Daniels, the production he had at the quarterback position in his rookie year, I think will excite Debo. But at the end of the day, I think for Debo to be ultimately bought in, he's got to get himself a new contract. If not, he's got to have a 1 year play it, make his own money type deal. And I think he'll perform fine in that regard as well. But contract situation, I think, needs to sort itself out.
From a surface level, Jay, it seems like it's truly a low risk, high reward. I mean, you're giving up a fifth round pick for an all pro during the 2021 season.
I agree. I think to add another player of this caliber to the receiving core to help Terry McLaurin out, help Jayden Daniels out is crucial. And even if it's only for 1 year, fifth round picks aren't easy. I know Puka Nakua, they've been some home run hitters in fifth rounds, but those are few and far between now. To get a player that's already established himself as a true NFL great player, I think is just a no brainer for Washington, is going to help out a lot.
And to those Commanders fans out there, they wanted that big body receiver, the bigger build, and Debo doesn't necessarily fit that. But how do
Right.
you go about of making up for not having that big bodied guy?
He's a big body guy now. He's thick. They call him Debo for a reason now. He's a bully, and that's what he is. He uses his body in different ways. Physicality after the catch and the way he blocks and the way he runs his high knees. His legs are very strong and powerful. Now he's not 6'5". I understand that. There's a couple guys in the draft they might get late rounds that maybe can fit that type of guy. They had Noah Brown under contract last year. He got hurt. He's a taller type guy, but I don't think you have to be really big to be effective. I like the fact that they have guys that are very explosive after the catch. We don't need to throw 60-yard bombs to 6'5" guys all day long. Let's throw some intermediate passes. Let these guys run after the catch, block downfield for the backs, do a lot of different things to get guys out in space. And I think that's what they have.
You've experienced success with football teams and here in Washington, and now Dan Quinn and company, they experienced success last year. How do you think this team is going to handle having that success and maybe a little bit of a target on their back in 2025, Jay?
Well, they got to continue to get better. They got to upgrade their football team, offensive line, defensive line. They got to get better on defense and just continue to work their asses off because, we went to the playoffs my second year. My third year, we were a game away. I think we lost to the Giants the last game of the year. Then we got Alex Smith, and he got hurt, and all the injuries took place. So you got to stay healthy, number one, but you got to continue to dress your football team. Make sure you keep the guys in house that you want to really establish the culture that you want. But most importantly, like I mentioned, stay healthy and just keep getting better players.
And it certainly helps to have Jayden Daniels under center to avoid maybe that CJ Stroud, maybe a little bit of a sophomore slump? What does he have to do?
Well, CJ did win a playoff game this year, so they weren't that terrible.
Fair,
They won,
fair.
and they won a division. I think one thing they have to surround them, just continue to surround them with better players, and they're doing that with Deebo Samuel. Maybe draft another running back in the draft, somebody a little bit more explosive. Make sure they address the tight end situation with Zach Ertz, sign him another year, maybe draft another guy, sign a free agent, whatever you got to do. But you got to continue to build around your quarterback, and then also you got to get better on defense. And then Jayden will work his tail off. I'm not worried about Jayden being thinking that okay, I already did it my first year. I don't have to work hard. He's going to continue to work hard. Cliff's going to have a plan. They're going to build off what they did last year, add a few nuances, but just continue to do what they did. And his ability to run and throw the football are second to none, basically. So they have a lot of things that they can work on in the offseason and get better at. But the most important thing, like I mentioned, is let's get some better skill around them.
I was talking to Herm Edwards a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying the second year is always the hardest year for an NFL player because there's like a blueprint out there on maybe how to slow down or contain a Jayden Daniels. How does Jayden kind of figure and work around that?
Well, I don't know what that blueprint is because you can try to say, hey, let's not let him run. He rushed for over 800 yards last year. Coaches aren't stupid. They know he can run, but he still rushed for over 800 yards. Well, let's stop the passing game. Let's stop Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin went off. Zach Ertz went off. So I don't know what that blueprint is. Herm's a defensive coach. I'm not, but I think you'll see a lot more zone defenses, eyeballs on the quarterback. But Jayden proved that he can read those and make the throws. The one thing he can't do is come back from a 55 to 30 game. They have to play better defense. But overall, I know there are going to be teams trying some different things, trying to attack that offensive line. But as long as you get better on the offensive line, make sure you address the left tackle, left guard, right. Make sure those are the guys you want in there and you stay healthy. I think Jayden will be fine because he can do it all.
Yeah, it seems like there's a real kind of race to try to get a Myles Garrett type player. Eagles in the mix, maybe the Commanders. It seems like a guy that can set the edge would be a huge addition for Washington.
Yeah, because there's not many guys like Myles. You look at TJ Watt and Micah Parsons. You got Bill Carter in the draft, which Washington can't get. There's just a handful of guys that can really change the game with the pass rush. Maybe the Bosa brothers. If you get one, you got to try to get one because that requires a lot of attention for offense. The tight ends got to stay in a chip, running backs got to chip, and they can change games and they can close games out. When you get a lead in known passing situation, you get a guy like Myles Garrett, it's game over. It's hard to get a pass off. I know from experience. So if you have an opportunity to get a guy like that, you got to try to get him.
Now you drafted John Allen, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is that like for you to kind of see him, probably his days in Washington are numbered and on the trade block?
Yeah, that's pro football. Dron Payne, Jonathan. I figure one of them would have to leave eventually because they play similar type positions. I don't know if both of them are just Jonathan. Jonathan's had a couple injuries here and there, so I think it's probably time for him to move on as well from a salary perspective. They need to get outside guys. I think with Newton coming in last year as a rookie and then Dron Payne, they got some other guys that played the interior pretty good. It's the exterior guys. Are we going to get Myles Garrett or who are we going to get? Dante Fowler Jr., we're going to re-sign him. They got so they have a big need on the outside as far as pass rush and stopping the run.
All right, great insight, great perspective as always. Former Washington head coach Jay Gruden does a great job for Underdog Fantasy. Dre, great catching up with you.
Thank you.
All right, much more to come right here on Toyota Sports Talk. Stay with us.